This is the plaintiff, Chiquita Barnes. She says she was going to rent an apartment from the defendant, and as it turns out, the thing was a fire trap. That's right, it only had one way in and one way out, a definite no-no. She decided she wasn't going to put her life in jeopardy, told the guy she wasn't going to live there, and now can't seem to get him to return her $1,880, the amount she's owed for rent and moving expenses. This is the defendant, Felix Figueroa. He says he doesn't feel he owes the plaintiff a dime because she actually lived in the apartment for 2 months. That's right, she's trying to get over on him and live rent-free, and hey, no one lives rent-free. Besides, she hasn't even returned the keys to him, so owe her? No way. He's accused of getting a tenant hot under the collar.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff was going to rent an apartment from the defendant, but says it was a fire trap, and now he can't get his security deposit back. But the defendant says the plaintiff lived there, and she's not doing it for free. It's the case of flame blame.
Douglas Chiquita Barnes, you are suing your former landlord, Felix Figueroa, for $1,880 in security deposits, rent that you paid, and moving services because you found out that the place was an illegal sublet. Tell me what's going on.
So just to start, I physically signed the lease with Felix and my witness, Lorencia Richards, on October 23rd of 2012. That was a Wednesday, and he allowed me to start moving things in earlier. But due to Hurricane Sandy, I didn't physically spend the night in the apartment until Friday, November 2nd. 4 days after being in the apartment, I went to, this is, Lorencia, she was coming over. I went to open the door for her. And when I did.
Does she live there with you or
no?
Was she a roommate or no? Okay.
No, that's my girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so she's not on the lease?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Do you have the lease with you?
I do.
Okay. And so she comes over.
Yep.
I know I'm going to start asking you questions in a second, so if you want to come on up. Yeah. Thanks. All right.
Yeah, so I attempted to open the door because the type of lock that Felix had on the door, it's the same key that you use to get in is what you use to get out. So you have to lock the door from the inside. So I'm trying to we're on the phone with each other. I'm trying to open the door. I'm like, I must be bugging. I had only been in the apartment for 4 days. I'm like, I must have the wrong key. Because when I moved in, Felix left the keys on the window seal for me. So she's like, you know what? Throw the key.
Is that the first time that you had needed to open and close the door?
No.
So, but it had worked the other time.
Yeah, it had worked the other days. So it was really dark outside, had the flashlight, threw the keys down to her. She came up through the back because there was only one entrance. There was no front entrance to the house. So you had to go around the back to come into the apartment. She came up. She wasn't able to open the door.
Let me talk to you. So then you try with the keys that she dropped down to you.
I tried both the bottom lock and the top lock, and they wouldn't open at all. You could turn it, but the door wouldn't open. And then the top lock wasn't locked. The bottom lock wasn't locked either, but you couldn't open a door.
Okay. What kind of place were you renting? Like a basement or what?
It was a 3rd floor attic.
An attic. Okay. And did you have your own entrance and exit?
The same way that you got into the apartment?
There was only one entrance and exit. Yeah. All right. Okay, so now what do? Does he live there too?
Yeah. He does. He lives on the first Felix lives on the 1st floor.
All right, so you go down there and you knock on his door. I take it. You go down there and you knock.
Yeah, I go down and knock on the door and I tell him that she can't get out the apartment. And
so she's locked into her own apartment.
Right.
Got it. All right, so then what happens?
I knock on his door and I tell him that she can't get out of her apartment. He comes upstairs, he jigs the door, he can't get it. Then he goes downstairs to get some, I think it was a hammer or something, and then tries to open the door. Then he goes back downstairs to get something else. I think it was maybe a flathead or something to, like a knife or
At this point, you've been living there how long?
4 days.
Okay. So, and then one of you starts taking video?
Yeah, I took a video.
How come?
Just to see how long it would take. I didn't take actually a whole long video, but
we tried ourselves for at least 30 minutes.
To open the door?
Yeah, ourselves without Felix.
Is there a fire escape?
Nope.
No.
So you come up and you try to open the door, and what's wrong with it?
It seems that someone was messing around with the cylinder lock that actually comes out of the lock into the hole where.
How do you mess around with that? You're either using a key to get in or you're using a key to get out. There's no.
Right, but there's 2 locks. Like she mentioned, there's 2 locks. So you have a safety
keys?
lock.
2 different keys?
No, same key.
Same key.
So it opens the top and the bottom. So you have a double bolt and a regular hand.
But when you say someone was messing around with it, that implies somebody used it in a way it was not intended to be used.
Right, because After we was able to successfully open the door.
How did you successfully open it?
By pushing with a flathead screwdriver and pushing through.
That's not how doors are supposed to open, though, right?
Right. That's why I said the cylinder, for some reason, did not want to go back in.
Okay.
Like
So none of this is that big a deal because all you have to do is change a cylinder, right?
No, I
change a lock.
usually change the whole lock.
Change the whole lock. All right.
All right.
So this should not be a big deal, except for that got her thinking, right? That got you thinking.
But before she moved in,
Which you should think before you move in. Thank you for bringing that up.
You live and you learn.
You should think before you move in. So that got you thinking, put your hand down. That got you thinking what?
So I started talking to people, just pretty much telling them because A, I have asthma, and B, I follow the news, and a few years ago, firefighters in Bridgeport, they were attempting to get people out of a third floor apartment because there was no exit. 2 of them died. So I was like, okay, you
follow the news, you just don't remember the news. Right?
I do, yeah. So basically, I was like, all right, I know I have to do research. And that day it was November 6th. I'm like, we're going on vacation November 23rd. All right, I got to start something. So my initial call was to Bridgeport zoning. I didn't know if these people were going to give me anything. But the guy that I talked to, he's like, this house has always been listed as an oversized 2-family house. He said, when you get a chance to come here, I can give you paperwork. But I work full time, so it was hard for me to, whatever. But
do you have a CO for the attic, yes or no?
So should this plaintiff be allowed to get her security deposit back?
No, I don't think so.
Why?
Fixed the problem. The landlord fixed the problem.
So is this just a phony baloney excuse to get money back?
Yes, it is.
So she doesn't get the money back?
No, because the problem was fixed and that's the end of the matter.
But it's true that at the time, it was a serious problem before the door got fixed.
Yes, but absolutely not. She shouldn't get her money back.
Fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
It's an in-laws apartment. That's what they.
Right, but it's just an attic that you're not supposed to charge your in-laws on.
It's
At
a
least in my
full-size.
family, you know.
Right, but it's a full-size apartment. It's not like
That's
an
not
attic.
the question's not a space issue. It's
Okay.
Are you legally renting that out or are you illegally renting that out? You and I both know what I'm asking you. Don't play around with me. Just answer my question. What's the answer to my question?
Yes.
Yes, what? That was a multiple choice question.
Yes, it was being rented out.
What?
It was rented out.
You think that's my question? What do you think was my question?
That was not the question. Is it legal? Is
right,
it legally?
to rent it out.
After we went through the paperwork, it was submitted then now.
Turns out no. Okay, so now she wants out and she wants back her security deposits because here's how it works. What happens is that when you get the government involved by having to get a permit for renting stuff out, the government starts to do some really annoying things like make sure you're not going to die. They want to make sure that there's a bathroom. They want to make sure it's not a health hazard. They want to make sure you're not going to fry in the wiring. They want to make sure you have a way to get out if there's a fire, just pesky little government intrusions like that, where they just want to make sure you're safe. Otherwise, they don't want landlords charging people rent for death traps. So they make you jump a bunch of hurdles. Or they just say, no, you're not zoned for that. You can't do it. It's one or the other. So now here's what happens. It's like a little bit like, let's say she sold you some cocaine. Work with me here. She sells you cocaine. You get the cocaine, you taste it, you do whatever you do to see the quality of the cocaine, and then you say, why, this is an outrage. This is a breach of contract. This is not quality cocaine. You've charged me top dollar and you've given me stepped on stuff. And then you go to court, you file a lawsuit, you say, judge, help me out here. She's a breach of contract. I would look at you, right, and say, well, my friend, public policy prevents me from helping you out at a moment like this because you are doing something illegal. And we are not fools in the judiciary. We are not in the business of helping you do something illegal. It is much the same with landlord tenancy law. If we tell you, you have to get a permit to rent that out, and you're probably going to have to make sure it has a kitchen, make sure it has an entrance and an exit, make sure it has locks on the windows, make sure all the pesky little list of things that cost money to fix. What makes you think that I'm going to let you keep any portion of her security as rent? You can't. You can't ask me to help you keep the security. She didn't pay December rent because she didn't pay December, right? And she got out in the middle of December. So you want me to let you keep security as rent. That means I got to do something. You're asking me to act on your illegal contract, which isn't going to happen. Now, you're asking to get back November rent, right?
No, that was actually wrong. I fixed it. I initially gave Felix $2,000.
Tell me what you gave him money for.
$800 was for November rent. $800 was for security. $200 was a pet deposit because he does not allow pets. But if you look on the lease, he wrote in pen and he also signed small dog allowed. And then $200 was the additional $200 was for the last month's rent because he doesn't make you pay the full $800 at once. His thing was I could just add an extra $50 per month over the year.
Okay, is that accurate? $800 for November, $800 for security, $200 for the pet deposit, and $200 for the last month's rent?
Correct.
That is accurate. Okay. Did she destroy the place?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
But the thing is that her friend stayed there from day one. So it was not like where she stayed and helped her out, like I thought, moving her out. Her friend was there from day one and never left.
Oh, I never got to see that video. Let me see that video you talked about.
He hasn't.
Now,
Oh, here we go.
Your Honor.
Yeah, just a sec. I'm just curious, why are you videoing him?
To see how long it would take.
Because you're kind of angry that this is happening?
No, I was just actually there.
I mean, you can see how long it takes by watching, so it's kind of hostile.
It took longer than that, actually.
Did he know you were videoing down low or were you videoing up top? How were you videoing?
I was just it was in my shirt.
Are you videoing the way I video when I see somebody's ex-boyfriend at a restaurant with a woman and then I'm pretending that I'm looking in the phone, but I'm actually videoing and texting it to them? Or not like that? No. Okay, here. Yes, dear.
I would just like to add, if you listen to the audio on the...
Show me proof of your moving services fee.
Okay. If you listen to the audio, Felix specifically asked Laurencia, do you guys use one of the locks? If she was living there... I
don't care. I don't care if she was living there or stayed there every night in the 2 months. I don't care. This is not important to me.
Yeah, okay.
Let me tell you what's important to me. What's important to me is the following. There is money paid here for an apartment. The implication is you have the right to take the money, and the fact is that you didn't, okay? Let me tell you what someone can't do. They can't rent an attic apartment and then pay rent for a bunch of months, and then say, oh, by the way, you owe me the last year that I paid you, and get to live there rent-free. So the past month, the November, is already earned. That's past. I'm not doing anything about that. But the December rent, you are trying to keep the security deposit to cover the December rent, and I cannot let you do that for the reasons we've already discussed. So I'm going to order you to return the $800 in security, because you can't keep it for damages. You said she didn't damage it, so you can't keep it for rent, because you're not allowed to keep it for rent, because you can't rent it. The pet deposit, again, because there's no damages, and the $200 for last month's rent, for the same reasons that we've already discussed, since you can't collect rent. That's $1,200. Now you're also suing for the fact that you had to pay somebody to move you. You paid somebody to move you in on October 31st, and then you paid somebody to move you out on December 23rd. Now, you were leaving your last apartment. Why?
The lease was over. And I also
So no matter what, you'd be paying one of these moving fees, correct?
Absolutely.
So then why are you suing for both? You had one extra move thanks to this problem.
Because I moved in there and...
I know, but you'd have, no matter what, you'd have to pay for one or the other because you were leaving that last apartment.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. So you'll get one of those moves. We're done. And so my verdict is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,540. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, both sides.
That's good.
So the plaintiff does collect not every penny, but quite a bit of what she sued for. What's your reaction to this outcome?
I'm just glad it's all over with. It was a very consuming, problem as far as going back November and December. So I'm just
this has taken up or rented a lot of your mental space.
Yes, of course.
Right. Well, you understand how the judge came down on you for the illegal space. She can't rule in your favor when she can't enforce an illegal contract. Right?
That is correct.
You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Right around the corner this way. Okay. All right, so step on in here. You satisfied how this comes out? You didn't get every penny.
No, I didn't get every penny, but you know what? At the end of the day, God doesn't like ugly and God sees all. So with that said, you can't do something dirty and try to call it clean.
Okay. I like the Obama tie.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks.
Harvey?
You know, this is so simple. A landlord should never rent an apartment without having a certificate of occupancy, because if you don't have one of those, the tenant will hold you hostage. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.